Yo, welcome. This is a Midair 2 starter guide. And maybe you just got a key, or by some act of the great gods above, we've opened up the game to the public, but in either case, this guide is meant to help you get started. It is targeted towards completely new FPSZ players, although returning Tribes players probably will get good information too, especially because there's a lot of things specific to this game that are not present in older Tribes games. So I hear, having not really played them. So yeah, in this guide, I'm going to cover your settings. I'm going to cover gunplay, skiing, and flag mechanics. However, I'm not going to get into deep routing, especially on all the maps. I'm not going to talk about how pug gameplay works or roles or how to be good at the roles. I'm not even good myself, honestly. Better players should probably be doing this guide, but they aren't, so here we are. Let's get started with in-game settings. You should probably tackle these before you even hop into any gameplay. So first thing we're going to look at is settings, obviously. FOV, change it to whatever you like. The only graphics setting that I would focus on is your foliage. Turn that shit down unless you want your game to look like the next or the previous James Cameron movie. I actually played with high foliage for a long time until somebody pointed out how disgusting it was, and you know what? They were right, and I'm disgusting for having played with it. So, highly recommend low for foliage. For controls, the only control that I would super recommend changing is the one for evacuate, because by default it is K. This is a button that kills yourself, for the lack of a better term, but you're using it a lot, so K is actually pretty inconvenient. I would recommend any convenient button closer to where your hands are. And then finally, under game, you can change your crosshair to whatever you like. But the most important thing here is to have relative team colors checked and to pick good enemy and friendly team colors. So my settings are all fucked right now, but I would recommend normally, if you're not colorblind, red for enemy and green for friendly, because otherwise the colors will change. The colors will stay the same depending which team you're on, and that's very confusing from game to game because you'll be changing teams. Alright, the next thing is loadouts. I'm pretty much just going to recommend one specific loadout for you to use and get started on because that's the main loadout everybody uses in pickup games, pugs. I'll get into the differences there later. And that loadout is energy pack, Tempest, grenade launcher, Chaingun, and frag grenade. The other guns, packs, and items, all in some state, are either buggy or over or underpowered or don't work. So I would just recommend starting with this. You can feel free to experiment with the other stuff as you desire in public games. Finally, I'm going to talk about the three main ways to play the game. The first is by playing public games, public games, pubs, and that's done through this unlocked server. These are games that anybody can join at any time and do whatever you want, use whatever packs you want, hop in, hop out. And as you see, the server is not password protected. The primary way that people generally play the game is in 5v5 pickup games, pugs, and that's what all these locked servers are for. Don't worry, the passwords are freely shared. They're just to prevent anybody from accidentally joining the server when there's a pug in progress. The third way of playing is just to play online. You can hit this practice button and pick whatever map you want and click practice routes or practice with bots. Or you can open it up in the console with whatever your console bound is, just like so. Okay, let's talk gun mechanics. So, we've got the three main guns and then your hand grenade. And we can start with the first one. The first gun is the Tempest, also known as Disc Launcher or Spin Fuser from the Tribes games. This is a one-shot explosive gun that has no drop-off. It goes perfectly straight in the direction you shoot it in. It does 120 damage on direct impact on a midair, so to speak. And its inheritance value, I believe, is 50%, meaning if I am moving, let's say moving at 100 kilometers per hour directly straight, then if I fire it like this, it takes 50% of that velocity. So I can demonstrate if I'm moving like this and I fire, you see how it trails behind. So that's what I mean. And you can also, of course, use it to disc jump DJ by shooting the ground by your feet. The next gun is the grenade launcher. The grenade launcher fires 3 until you have to reload, and the grenades drop in a big arc, which is much unlike the spin fuser, or the Tempest, sorry. The grenade launcher deals 110 damage on direct impact, and it has a 75% inheritance value, so actually that's more than the disc. So if you're going fast, you can actually launch them much farther than you expect. The grenade launcher operates on a timer plus impact mechanic, meaning in order for the grenade to explode, the timer needs to have elapsed and it needs to be touching a surface or a person. So, for example, if I shoot it, it'll explode right on impact because the timer has elapsed. However, if I shoot it close, directly hitting a surface first, it does not explode right away because on the first impact because the timer hasn't elapsed yet. And so the final interesting thing about the grenade launcher is that when it's sitting on the ground, having not exploded, if somebody skis into it, it acts kind of like a landmine. So you can lay them down like this, and if somebody skis into the grenade, then it'll do the damage as it should. Alright, the last gun is the Chaingun. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a chaingun. Chaingun has 100% inheritance, so it is a projectile, but as you can see, the projectiles have the same speed as I do. And the Chaingun also, interestingly, there's a overheat mechanic, right? So if I'm firing, it starts slowing the rate of fire. However, if I start moving, my movement cools down the chaingun and the rate of fire increases again. So if you're skiing while you're using your chain, it will not overheat, only if you're standing still or moving very slowly. Finally, the hand grenade, frag nade, I don't just call them hand nades. These are purely timer based. No impact necessary, no early explosion, just the straight up timer. I don't even know how long the timer is, so we can find out. And so these will explode in midair too, so you can use them to snipe incoming cappers, etc. That's pretty much it. Fairly self-explanatory. And the last thing about guns is that they auto-reload, but only if the clip is empty. So, for example, here's my Tempest. I fire, switch to my grenade launcher, and I switch back, and it's like auto-reloaded without the animation. Same with the grenade launcher, but your clip has to be empty. So if I just shoot one and then I switch and I wait, nothing will happen. Still 2. But if I shoot all of them, I switch and I wait, and there it's completely reloaded. Okay, let's talk movement. The big shit with FPSZ games. If you have never experienced an FPSZ game, the basic premise is pretty straightforward. You have anti-friction boots, skis, where when you're holding your ski button, you are completely frictionless, and so my buttons don't even do anything right now. And you have your jetpack, which propels you upwards. So the main idea is when you go down into a hill, you ski, and then when you come up it, while holding ski, you also jet. And in this way, you build speed, move around the map fast, do crazy shit. of course, it's not as simple as that. There are a couple specifics about the skiing mechanics in midair that even previous tribes players get tripped up by. So the big one is that your directional jets are very, very powerful. However, directional jetting takes away from your vertical jetting. So what do I mean? If I just jet straight up without holding any buttons, I get a really, really, like, I get a lot of height, actually. This is quite high. I'm pretty much at the highest peak there. But if I hold W and jet at the same time, I'm pretty much getting no height at all compared to without any directional buttons. But I got a lot of forward movement. So your directional buttons give you a huge amount of lateral influence while you're in the air, but at the cost of detracting heavily from your vertical jetting power. The same also applies, of course, to your side jets, your back jets, and so you actually can get a lot of aerial control with your side jets, specifically with just tapping them. You see, I shifted all over here without much effort. If I hold it, I curve around very dramatically. And so what does that mean in terms of skiing? Well, what it means is that when you ski, you almost never want to be holding the W button. In fact, most of the time you're going to be holding A or D or neither. You hold neither to get height, and you hold A or D for directional control. So here's what me trying to ski a route that this is going to be a left route to grab their flag, will look like if I just hold W a lot. So I'm trying to go left, but I really can't because I'm holding W. And I'm trying to go right, but I really can't because holding both the directional keys splits my jets between them, and I got no height at all. However, if I don't hold W at all, I can go left, and I can go right. Now, for a bit of even more midair specific mechanics about skiing, there's a great video out there called Learn How to Skate that will explain this as well, but I'll put it in here for the sake of completion, which is that in midair there is a falling velocity cap. And what I mean by that is if I get straight up in the air, and you look at my speed down at the bottom, you see how it capped at 199? So there's a vertical, so a falling velocity cap of 200. When I fall straight down, I cannot go faster than that. However, you saw earlier I actually was able to ski faster than that. How's that possible? It's again with heavy use of the directional keys. So what you want to try to be doing is going wide and then carving back into the bowl. So the question is, how do you actually learn routes and skiing now that you have a basic grasp of the mechanics? Here's my recommendation for what to do. This is just what I would tell myself if I was starting again, because I did a bunch of different stuff, but if I were to start again, I would do this. Not necessarily that it might work for you or anybody, really, because I'm strange and neurotic. But what I would do is pick an easy starter map. So here I'm on Menorah, but I would probably recommend Ingo or Bryn as well. Find an example of a basic left or right route. I'll use this time to plug my video showing a bunch of pretty simple basic routes on every map that is most commonly played in midair, and then to loop it until it feels good under your fingers or toes or whatever. So here I'm just going to loop a basic Menorah right route a couple times just to demo how it's like. And Menorah, like most other maps in Midair, is diagonally symmetrical, which means that regardless of which side of the which team you're on, if you're on the red or blue team, a left route is a left route, and it's the same left route, so it's easy to pick up routes because once you have it on one side, it's the exact same on the other.
Your team captured the flag.
So you see I'm just looping it. I'm actually using the same exact bowl on my exit as my approach, just to make it even more symmetrical.
We have the enemy flag.
Let's do it one more time.
Your team captured the flag.
I also apologize for the zooming. That's just the thing I picked up from better players than me, so that helps me ski better.
We have the enemy flag.
Again, I'll say it again, I'm not touching W at all. This is purely AD or nothing. And once you get going, you really don't even need a jet that much. Especially on this route, my jets probably barely dip below 100.
We have the enemy flag.
Alright, this is the last one for real, for real. The last thing I'll talk about is flag mechanics. So, you probably already know how two flag CTF works. It's same as in most other games. You grab the enemy flag, and then you bring it home to yours, and if your flag is home, then that's a cap. 8 caps wins a game. The interesting mid-area parts is that you can throw the flag, your throw flag button. It goes pretty far, depends on your momentum. You can catch flags. So it's, let's say I was a teammate. Oh wow, great pass me, thank you. Right, obviously, like I said, you can capture the flag.
Your team captured the...
You can shoot the flag to bounce it around so that it's harder to touch. If I was on the enemy team, if I touch the flag, I would return it. And autos returned, you don't have to stand on it, just touching it will return it. Okay, you can bounce the flag. You can shoot the flag towards yourself. You can even punt the flag. And finally, flag returning mechanisms. So besides touching the flag, if the flag is out in the field, you see on the top right, it says returns in 32, it starts at 35. So if nobody picks up the flag for 35 seconds, it auto returns. Shooting it doesn't adjust the timer, but anybody picking it up will reset it, as you see. Finally, the last way a flag can be returned is if it gets taken out of the out of bounds zone, the OOB, the blue grid. So here I'm gonna walk out, and here it's like flag returning in 5. If I stay out there, then the flag will auto return. It doesn't matter if I'm holding it or if it just drops out there. It's a 5-second timer if the flag is anywhere outside the OOB. The blue grid is the OOB for the flag, but you can go out of it, and you do all the time. However, the orange barrier... Where are you at, pal? Jesus Christ. Here it is. Orange barrier is a hard cutoff. I cannot move beyond it. This is the limit, the border limit of the map. So yeah, that's all the basic mechanics that I'm going to cover today. I have another video out with a bunch of basic routes that you can look at, and it's not meant for exact emulation, but it's just to give an idea of what kind of routes are on every one of the major maps. And hopefully soon, if not already, I'll have another video out talking about how to get into playing pickup games, pug basics, what the roles are, how to generally play each role, and what to expect when you play pugs. So yeah, hopefully this helped, And feel free to message me on Discord if you have any questions. And otherwise, I will see you in game.